Let's dive into the Pop Tarts Bowl here at Heartland College Sports. I'm Pete Mundo. Thank you for being a part of the show as always, as we continue to break down every single Big 12 bowl game that is out there on the schedule this week and next week. And we'll give you a prediction as well, a pick against the spread. And our picks, as of this recording, are undefeated thus far. I'm just going to throw that out there. You do with the information what you want, but we're feeling pretty good about things as, I just call it how I see it. Now, the Pop Tarts Bowl, Iowa State, Miami, one of the better non-college football playoff bowl games out there. You've got the high-octane offense of the Miami Hurricanes going up against Iowa State's stingy, bend but don't break, but broke too often this season defense. And by the way, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. So let's just dive into this here for a second from a Miami offensive perspective. Miami is obviously playing Cam Ward, their star quarterback, who is expected to be a high NFL draft pick. They've got an offense that ranks number one in the nation in points and total yards per game in the regular season. Ward set multiple single-season school records, threw for 4,100 yards, 36 touchdowns. His top receiver isn't sure whether or not he's playing. Running back Damian Martinez, fellow senior, also expected to be drafted, is playing. Miami is a team that was looking at a college football playoff, and then, of course, they lost a couple of games down the stretch, and they fell out of the conversation. They lost to Georgia Tech and Syracuse by a combined 7 points, and that's what cost them a spot in the college football playoff. And they may have very well been, in hindsight, the best team in the ACC. Instead, the ACC sent SMU and Clemson to the college football playoff, and those, arguably, neither of them were the best team in the league. But that's how this thing shakes out sometimes. So with that being said, what concerns me for Iowa State is that people are going to look at Iowa State and they're going to say, well, they've got a really good defense. They've got one of the best defenses in the Big 12, and that's going to make this a Miami offense against an Iowa State defense that will determine the game. That's true to an extent. Iowa State's pass defense is very good, tops in the Big 12. Their rushing defense was not good this year. In fact, their rushing defense was second worst in the Big 12 ahead of only Oklahoma State. And that concerns me because you've got a Miami team that, yes, everyone talks about Cam Ward, but they were right up there when it comes to rushing yards in the SEC as well. I mean, they were top 5 in the SEC or ACC, with 180 rushing yards per game, which means if you are Damian Martinez, well, guess what? You are licking your chops. And that is going to set up Cam Ward to potentially put up some big numbers, and he wants to. He's talked about it. So that right there is the concerning part to me. I think that Miami is going to get its points. I genuinely don't know if Iowa State's going to be in a position where it can keep up offensively. Because for all the talk about Miami's offense, the defense wasn't bad. The defense gave up 319 yards per game on average, which was the lowest in the entire ACC, ahead of SMU, ahead of Duke, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech. I mean, some of the better defenses in the ACC. Miami's was better than all of them based on just the numbers. Points per game, they only gave up 23 and change, which was right outside the top 5 in the ACC. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, okay, I mean, listen, I'm a Big 12 guy. I want to pick Iowa State, but I can't. And the other thing is Matt Campbell, just for as great of a job as Matt Campbell has done, his teams haven't done great in these bowl games. I remember the Liberty Bowl game, his first bowl game that they won against Clemson. That was a lot of fun. That was also 7 years ago. And for all the success, this team has won one bowl game. It was the Fiesta Bowl with Brock Purdy and those guys after they got to the Big 12 championship in 2020. Since then, they had that Cheez-It Bowl loss, which is the same thing as the Pop Tarts Bowl. They lost that game to Clemson. They lost their bowl game last year. They played in the Liberty Bowl. They lost that game to Memphis. So they've lost a Camping World Bowl, which is also now the Pop Tarts Bowl, to Notre Dame a few years back. They lost an Alamo Bowl game a bunch of years ago against Washington State. Now, some of these games are closer than others, but for whatever reason, this team, for all the success under Matt Campbell, hasn't really played well in bowl games. So combine that with the fact that I don't like the matchup, and I'm going to go Miami minus the 4.5. It also feels like it'll be heavily, I mean, maybe not. I don't want to jump to conclusions on this. We know Iowa State travels very well. But Miami's going, what, 3 hours up the road? You tell me that can't be, in some ways, highly beneficial to them with a lot of their big guys getting set to play in this game, some for the very last time. So all in all, I am going to take the team that is closer to home. I don't want to say in its own backyard, with the better quarterback in this game, the much more high-octane offense, and a defense that is getting overlooked here as well. So give me Miami beating Iowa State by a final of, I'm going to say, 31-24 in the Pop Tarts Bowl. I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports. Thank you guys for being here as always. We so appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel.